Lio Rush announces his retirement following AEW debut, Mickie James is signed with NWA, and Lana sends a heartfelt message to Liv Morgan. Hello everyone, Jose G here bringing you today's top stories in today's Sportskeeda Wrestling News Roundup. To stay up to date with all of our content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Lio Rush announces retirement following AEW debut and reveals the reason behind his decision. Lio Rush has taken to social media to announce his retirement from active in-ring competition. The announcement's timing caught several fans off guard as the former WWE star had recently made his AEW debut at Double or Nothing and was also contracted by New Japan Pro Wrestling. Lio Rush issued a lengthy statement in which he cited a recent injury as the reason behind his untimely retirement. The former WWE Cruiserweight Champion detailed the struggles he's had to face due to the injury, including the inability to pick up his son. Lio Rush noted that he was in constant physical pain and had eventually sunk into depression. Though he'd worked through and recovered from other injuries before, what got to him more than anything was being unable to pick up his son. By saying, quote, "Got the news that I'd be taking some time off due to this injury. Me thinking it would only affect my wrestling obligations. I still tried to go about my days as I knew them. I realized just how much this would affect my everyday life. For anyone who knows me, you know that I work endlessly for me and my family. It became more and more frustrating every day finding little things that I could no longer do, like simply putting on a shirt, and a much harder fact to deal with, not being able to pick up my newborn son." End quote. Lio Rush also addressed his AEW appearance and added that All Elite Wrestling wanted to sign him to a full-time contract. Lio Rush was grateful for the opportunities provided to him and said that he would have been the first person in history to have been signed by two major wrestling companies simultaneously. Lio Rush explained that he chose to take the positive out of an unfortunate situation before announcing his retirement. Lio Rush thanked all the people who've supported him throughout his career, also added that he'd return to complete his contractual obligations with New Japan once he has healed up. He even posted an X-ray photo of his Instagram stories before finishing up with one final thank you. Rush was released from WWE in April of 2020 as a part of the company's budget cuts. Bobby Lashley's former manager initially retired from wrestling following his release to focus on his career as a rapper. Lio Rush released 2 studio albums, but he also returned to wrestling in July of 2020. Lio Rush has since worked for GCW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and MLW, in addition to his Double or Nothing appearance. Mickie James joins the NWA and an all-women's pay-per-view announced. It appears that Mickie James somehow got out of her 90-day non-compete clause with WWE as the former 6-time women's champion appeared last night on NWA Power alongside NWA President Billy Corgan. It was reported earlier today by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select that NWA would be holding an all-women's pay-per-view on August 28th. Hours later, this report was confirmed and officially announced on the latest episode of NWA Power. This pay-per-view, as well as NWA 73, will be held in St. Louis, Missouri. Mickie James was revealed to be the executive producer for the NWA all-women's pay-per-view. James commented that this is something she's been wanting to do for a very long time, but had been cut off at every opportunity. Mickie James went on to thank Billy Corgan for giving women's wrestling a chance to show that it can draw money and can be at the top of the marquee alongside the men. In a very bold statement, Mickie James said she hopes to gather the best women in the world to compete on this show, even if they're currently under contract with other wrestling companies. This might indicate that the working relationship between the NWA and AEW will continue as the NWA Women's World Championship has been featured prominently on AEW TV over the past year. This is certainly a big announcement that could generate excitement and hype around the NWA brand again, which has been struggling to get back on its feet since returning from the COVID-19 pandemic that shut down the promotion last year. Aleister Black names wrestlers he wants to face after his WWE release. On June 2nd, 2021, WWE announced the release of several wrestlers, including Aleister Black, who has since gone on to express his gratitude towards WWE and his time in the promotion. Black now looks forward to the future as a sea of opportunities await for him after his release from the WWE. His in-ring work has been lauded by many, as he often puts on stellar matches whenever he is given the chance in Vince McMahon's company. During an appearance on Oral Sessions with Renee Paquette, Aleister Black opened up on a number of matters. Among other topics, he named several wrestlers he would want to face outside WWE, saying, quote, "I want to get in the ring with Moose, Callahan, Mox, Omega, Chris Daniels. My God, there's such an array of crazy talent. I think Jungle Boy is great. I think Hobbs is awesome. Brian Cage, Brody King from Ring of Honor, Homicide. I would love to get in the ring with Homicide. I think Homicide is the OG. I love Homicide. Tons of respect. Eddie Kingston is another one." End quote. The aforementioned names featured multiple stars from AEW. Many fans have speculated that Black could eventually sign with the promotion to make these dream matches possible. Black has now reverted to the old moniker that he used to before joining WWE, Tommy N. That's the name you should be paying attention to if you're interested in his future ventures. Tommy N started wrestling in 2002 in Europe in promotions like Pro Wrestling Holland, Progress Wrestling Insane Championship Wrestling, Over the Top Wrestling, and Revolution Pro Wrestling. N's popularity started to spill over to America, and he was soon called to work for various notable North American companies. He competed in Combat Zone Wrestling, Evolve, and Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and this run put him firmly on the map. WWE eventually signed him in 2016, and Black started off in NXT. There, he wowed fans on a global stage and climbed the ranks of the Black and Gold brand. He was called up to the main roster in 2019, but he never won a title on WWE Raw or SmackDown. Still, at various points, he was a featured player, and many fans thought he could have been a main eventer. Ex-WWE star conversation with Paul Heyman after his recent release. Paul Heyman spoke to Aleister Black right after the former NXT champion's recent release from WWE. Heyman praised Black and told him that he was 5 years ahead of time in the business, saying that it was also the biggest issue that he had. Aleister Black was one of many WWE superstars released by the company last week. Black joined WWE in 2016 and debuted a year later before going on to becoming a top star in NXT. He was called up to the main roster in 2019, teaming up with Ricochet before becoming a single star. During his recent appearance on Renee Paquette's Oral Sessions podcast, Black said that Paul Heyman called him on the day of his release and had some encouraging words for him, saying, quote, "He reached out to me on that day it happened. It was very sad. Paul has always said to me, Tom, I think you're 5 years ahead of the business. He's like, as brilliant as I think you are, I think that's also sometimes your biggest issue is that you're so far ahead of mentally that people have to catch up to it. And he still believes. He's like, I still believe you're gonna do great things. And you know, we're far from done. I'm absolutely far from done." End quote. Aleister Black stated that he is excited about his future and revealed that there have been a few knocks on the door in the past few days. Lana sends a heartfelt message to Liv Morgan. Former WWE superstar Lana has been in the news since last week due to her release from the WWE. Several stars reached out to her, including SmackDown superstar Liv Morgan. On the occasion of Morgan's birthday, Lana has now sent the following heartfelt message to her, calling her my favorite ex-lover. This was a throwback to the controversial storyline between the two on Monday Night Raw, where Liv Morgan revealed herself to be Lana's ex-lover by saying, quote, "Happy birthday to my favorite ex-lover. You only live once. I love you more than you can imagine." End quote. In December of 2019, Liv Morgan returned to WWE TV and interrupted the wedding segment on Monday Night Raw between Lana and Bobby Lashley. Morgan then made a shocking revelation of being the ravishing Russian's ex-lover, leading to a feud between the two, also involving Lashley and Rusev. However, the angle was abruptly scrapped by WWE and Rusev was released in April of 2020. Last year, Liv Morgan sat down with Kenny McIntosh of Inside the Ropes, where she spoke about her on-screen love angle with Lana. The SmackDown superstar stated that while she has no idea of WWE's future plans for it, she would love to revisit it. With Lana released, we'll probably never see WWE revisit this storyline. As for Liv Morgan, It is to be seen what plans the company has for her, since her tag team partner Ruby Riott was also released by WWE last week. Thanks for watching today's Sportskeeda Wrestling News Roundup. For more news stories and exclusive content, be sure to follow us on all social media. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Download the Sportskeeda app for the most up-to-date stories in the world of wrestling.